Mutation Nation! Aside from being a really fun name to say, seriously, take a moment, say it a few times. Fun name. It is a pretty fun Neo Geo beat 'em up. This was one of the few that was listed on the ACA page that I didn't know too much about, and I was pretty excited to play, and to see it go on sale, well, that just made my day. Now, it is a beat 'em up. There's not really too much of an actual story here. I mean, presumably there's a nation full of mutations, and someone's got to do something about it. Evidently, it's some guy who looks kinda like me, cosplaying as Axel from Streets of Rage. Let's rock. Okay, so Mutation Nation is a beat-em-up that tries to take it in a slightly different direction. There are a few standard concepts you'd find in other beat-em-ups that just don't apply here. For example, no weapons. Yeah, just none of them. Also, no health pickups. The only thing close to an actual proper health pickup is like a extra ammo pickup, which heals you a little bit, but that is it. Which actually leads to kind of a balance issue, seeing as the only way to really heal yourself is to die and then just insert another quarter. Again, it's a Neo Geo game, there's some arcadey difficulty nonsense here, but for the most part it plays pretty well. What is the biggest change compared to a lot of other beat-em-ups is just how much this game favors screen-clearing bombs, though. And this is hardly the first beat-em-up to feature screen-clearing attacks. Ninja Warriors had them, even the original Streets of Rage had them, but this time they're definitely at the forefront because outside of your standard punch, kick, and like jump kick combination, that's really all you've got. So you're going to kind of be relying on these a lot. However, what's really bizarre about it is the game kind of doesn't want you to. I think at the end of the day, these are not designed necessarily to be able to defeat the enemies so much as they are used to equalize the playing field if you get surrounded, but even then it doesn't necessarily work because in order to use any of your screen clearing super attacks, you have to stand still and then charge them. And this is where things get a little bit rough for this game, because not only do you have to stand still and charge them, you can't clear a screen, charge, and then walk off, because after walking a little while, suddenly you lose it, forcing you to then stop and charge again, and you can't charge while moving, so you're a giant sitting target. And the thing about this is, it really means that you can't use it necessarily as an equalizer, because, I mean, the reason why you'd want to do that is you're surrounded. Well, if you're surrounded, you can't stand around charging because you're going to get attacked. Your best bet is to like jump kick out of the way and try and get all the enemies to one side. Your next logical option would be to start charging when you've knocked all the enemies down. Well, that works, provided that you can knock all the enemies down at the same time. However, the bosses, and there are a lot of bosses, and they're awesome in this game. Well, this game seems to think that it's unfair that human characters get invulnerability and bosses don't, so they flip the script on this, give bosses invulnerability, and you get none. However, the biggest problem with this is their invulnerability, combined with the amount of time they remain knocked down, is longer than your ability to charge. So you could start charging after you knock an enemy down, but you'll be finished before they get up and are vulnerable. You could try starting to charge later, but by the time they're up, they'll have already hit you, and they'll still probably be invulnerable. And that's the one thing I really don't like about this game, is the fact that, you know, this game focuses so much on these super weapons because it's the one really awesome hook this game has, and yet it feels like it punishes you at every single opportunity you would ever potentially want to use it. It gives you these mechanics, and then basically just says never use them. In fact, I don't have footage of it, but after I stopped my first playthrough and stopped recording, I decided to play the first level again just for fun, just to see if I could find some new moves or something, which there really aren't. It's a very simple punching-kicking affair. Running through the entire first level just using the punch button and not actually using any of these special screen-clearing attacks, that seemed far more effective. So it almost makes you question why you'd ever want to use these screen-clearing super attacks if all you get is punished for them. And it's a shame because they are awesome to use. You have 4 different types of super weapons that you can pick up. A lightning one, which covers the screen in blue lightning. It looks really flashy. There's a wind one, which launches like a tornado. There's a fire one, which causes some explosions. And then there's one where you turn into a beam of light and dash around the screen. That one's kind of lame. But not only are they very cool to look at, except for that light one, but they're all manageable resources. They're pickups in this game. which means they have limited use, which means you also have to find the best time to make use of them. At least on paper, like I said, they're kind of tricky to actually take full advantage of because the game seems to really not want you to, but still, it's very interesting. And what's also very cool is if you're very reliant on your super attacks and you don't happen to have any in your inventory anymore because I guess you didn't exercise resource management, well, your character still has one more super attack in that he has awesome super kicks. Now the difference between this and your other super moves is it only hits one enemy at a time and it drains your health. So it's really more of a last-ditch effort type of thing, but again, given how you kind of have to wait around to charge it and there's going to be a health penalty anyway, it's better just to really rely on punching things because it's going to be equally effective. And while I'm kind of down on the overall execution of these super moves, which is really this game's standout note, it's still a damn solid beat 'em up. You walk from the left to the right, you punch everything in the way, and you run into some enemies that are too fast, you kind of just have to avoid them. You run into some enemies that have a couple different tricks up their sleeve, and then you run into bosses. And what's neat about every level in this game is they tend to have at least 2 or more bosses, and bosses tend to have multiple forms. They all tend to be very, very cool. Bosses in this game are really well done. Seriously, I kind of wish this game would have like just a boss rush mode, because that'd be a fun little bonus feature to this game. Overall, the actual beat 'em up aspects of this, they're very, very basic and not terribly special, but they're well executed. It's when this game tries to stand out more with its mechanics that it tends to fall a little bit. But that said, if you can find the time to really utilize your special attacks, you're gonna have an awesome power trip because using them really does make you feel like just this crazy super weapon tearing down everything in front of you. Seriously, the super attacks in this game are awesome, but while those are a little bit finicky and the lack of health and weapons kind of make it feel a little bit tougher than it should be, you still have a solid foundation for a really fun beat 'em up, regardless of pretty much all the other bells and whistles that they either did or didn't add. Mechanically speaking, it's a very simple beat 'em up, but it is fun. Now, the overall presentation to Mutation Nation is amazing. I mean, it's a Neo Geo game, obviously it's going to look good. It's got nice detailed sprites, lots of color that tends to contrast the backgrounds a lot, which really does make it pop. The enemy designs are amazing, and I really do love that, you know, some of the bosses do actually transform when you fight them. It really does make every fight sort of its own really unique, interesting experience, and it makes it a whole event when you take part in it. It feels like it's more than just, okay, I'm fighting a really tough guy. It's like, no, this is special, this is significant, it's awesome. And the soundtrack, well, the soundtrack is hard-rocking badassness incarnate. It totally makes use of the abrasiveness of the Neo Geo sound chip in a way that would make the Sega Genesis blush. And it reminds me so much of the soundtrack to the legendarily awesome Shock Troopers. And there's a reason, it's the same composer. That just makes me like this game more. But yeah, the presentation to Shock Troopers the Beat 'em Up, sometimes referred to as Mutation Nation, I guess, if you want to be that person, is damn amazing, and it is basically indicative of what makes the Neo Geo such an awesome powerhouse. Now, if you want a copy of Mutation Nation on the Neo Geo, cheapest copy I'm seeing right now is about $300. On the bright side, the Neo Geo CD version is about a third that price, although that's still quite a lot. You can get it digitally for about $15. I got it on sale for $5, and I do not regret it. I mean, hell, the soundtrack and presentation of this game alone makes me want to recommend it. But using crazy superpowers to beat up mutated monsters is awesome. Yeah, it's got some weird balance issues, and seriously, no health pickups. I get it's an arcade game, but seriously, beat 'em ups need health pickups. You know, it's not a perfect game by any means. It's certainly not Shock Troopers. But it is a tremendously fun beat 'em up for the Neo Geo. I quite like this game a lot. I wish they had sort of better figured out the timing on enemy invulnerability in order to take advantage of your super moves a little bit better, especially because you don't get invulnerability in this game, which also kind of sucks. But you know, it's a fun time, and if you're playing this version, you've got unlimited quarters anyway, so running out of lives, it's not the biggest problem ever if you're here just to experience how insane this game is. And it is one of the more noteworthy beat 'em ups I have played in years. Sure, it's not perfect, but you know what? It is damn memorable, and it is a fantastic addition to any Neo Geo collection. I quite like Mutation Nation. Sure, it's not what I would consider to be the top tier Shock Troopers of the Neo Geo. I mean, obviously that's Shock Troopers, but damn, if you're collecting Neo Geo games, keep an eye out for this one. It's fun.